Yo, what's up guys, welcome back to another Destiny video. Today's video I'm going to be talking about the top 10 weapons that every solo player needs for PVE. And this list is going to contain both exotic and legendary weapons. And don't worry, this list is not in any particular order, all these weapons could be compared equally in my opinion. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and hop into the video. And starting off with the number 1 spot, we have the Horde exotic grenade launcher. And this weapon was originally obtainable by reaching tier 1 in Season of Arrivals. But since it has been sunset, the only way to get this is through the exotic archive, which can be found in the tower, and it is in between the two vaults. To buy this weapon, you need to click on Shadowkeep Exotics, and it is the 8th weapon of the provided. And to be honest, the Horde is one of my favorite exotics of all time, and this is because the exotic trait is Primeval's Torment, which does the following. Projectiles fired by this weapon blight the target or nearby area on impact. So there are two things you can do with this weapon. You can shoot a pool underneath enemies to damage them over time, or you can shoot the enemies and they will absorb the blast, making them take damage over time, and once they die, the pool will drop underneath them and any enemies nearby will take damage from the pool. Now, this weapon is especially good with taking down majors, but it can also be used for boss damage. Now, moving on to the number 2 spot, we have the Taipan 4FR Legendary Linear Fusion Rifle. Now, this weapon was really easy to obtain back in Season of the Plunder because they literally gave you a free red border for doing an easy ass mission that I do not know if you can still do now. However, this weapon is still obtainable by random drops and you can pretty much get it from any in-game activity. It is also a craftable weapon and it only requires 2 red borders to unlock its pattern, making it the easiest linear fusion rifle to craft. You just gotta hope that RNG is on your side. Now, the reason I love this weapon so much is because it is a viced weapon and it has the origin trait Vice Stinger, which has a small chance of reloading your weapon every time you damage an enemy with it. And on top of that, you can get the trait Triple Tap. Landing precision hits will return 1 round to the magazine. Now, my preferred god roll for this weapon is Fluted Barrel, Enhanced Battery, Triple Tap like mentioned, as well as Firing Line. However, for your solo players, you could also do Box Breathing, just depending on if there's anyone else on your fire team. Now, obviously, this weapon is going to be best for taking down bosses, but of course, it can also be used for majors. Now, moving on to the number 3 spot, we have the Merciless Exotic Fusion Rifle. Now, unfortunately, the only way to obtain this weapon is through RNG, meaning you have to rely on the drop chance of exotic engrams. Now, the reason that this weapon is on this list is because it has the exotic trait Conserve Momentum, which does the following. Hits with projectiles decrease this weapon's charge time for a short duration. So basically, the more hits you get with this weapon, the faster it's going to shoot, and because it is a fusion rifle, that is a really good trait. Now, you're probably going to use this weapon mostly for majors, but of course, it is really good for bosses as well. Now, moving on to the number 4 spot, we have the Palmyra B Legendary Rocket Launcher. Now, I'm pretty sure you can get a guaranteed red border for this weapon through the Witch Queen campaign, and this weapon only needs 1 red border to be craftable, so once you get that red border, you can go ahead and craft the weapon. Now, the reason I love this weapon is because it is a Hawkeye precision frame, which does the following. This weapon fires a small auto-tracking missile. Missiles lock onto targets when aimed, which is exactly what you think. Yes, it just locks onto targets. It's really easy to hit your shots, so you shouldn't have to worry about aiming really well. As long as you're close to the enemy with your reticle, you should be able to hit them. Now, for the perks of this weapon, my preferred god roll is gonna be Quick Launch, Impact Casing, Auto-Loading Holster, Lasting Impression, or Explosive Light, but I prefer Lasting Impression. Now, you're most likely going to use this weapon for bosses, but of course, it can be used for majors as well. Now, moving on to the number 5 spot, we have the Skyburners Oath Exotic Scout Rifle. Now, this weapon is insane, not just because it shoots explosive slugs, but because it has the weapon perk for the Empire. So, you know the Cabal with their dumb shields, and you have to freaking shoot that little crit spot to get rid of it? Well, this weapon just shoots right through that shit. Nah, like, right through it, bruh. And it also does extra damage to Cabal enemies. Now, I forgot to mention this, but this exotic is only obtainable through exotic engrams, so you have to rely on RNG once again. Now, there's a chance you'll be using this weapon for a lot of different things, killing minors, killing majors, and as well as doing damage to bosses while your weapon is reloading if you have auto-loading holster on. Now, moving on to the number 6 spot, we have the Cartesian Coordinate Legendary Fusion Rifle. This weapon is only obtainable through RNG, and it is not a craftable weapon yet. I don't know if they'll ever be doing that, but most likely not. Now, this weapon is a rapid-fire frame, which just makes it a little faster to reload when your magazine is empty. Now, there's hella combinations you can do for this weapon, but my preferred god roll is gonna be Clean Shot, Projectile Fuse, Lead from Gold, and Vorpal Weapon. And overall, all these perks combined make this weapon a killing machine. I mean, holy shit. You're gonna use this weapon for a lot. Killing majors, killing minors if you want, but I probably wouldn't suggest that. but doing boss damage as well considering it has Vorpal. Now, I actually got lucky and was able to pick this up when Banshee was selling the insane charge time masterwork with all those perks I just mentioned as well, and this weapon is a beast. I mean, even without the charge time masterwork, it's still a really good weapon, and I would suggest trying to get it when you can. Moving on to the number 7 spot, we have the Outbreak Perfected Exotic Pulse Rifle. And yes, my D1 veterans, this is the sequel to Outbreak Prime, the Destiny 1 Exotic Pulse Rifle obtained from the Wrath of the Machine secret quest. Now, Outbreak Perfected was also an exotic quest, which required you to do a bunch of steps and then go through the 0-hour exotic mission, but now you just get it from the exotic archive, and it is located in the Red War exotics. Now, the reason this weapon is so good is because it has the exotic trait, the Corruption Spreads, which does the following. This weapon creates Siva nanite swarms on rapid hits and precision kills. So basically, once you activate the trait, a bunch of little red things fly at targets and just kill them pretty much. This weapon also has the perk Outlaw, which just gives you increased reload time when you get precision kills, and also has the Parasitism, which allows the weapon to do more damage to the enemies with the little Siva nanites swarming them. Now, you can also get the exotic Catalyst for this, which is also really good, and it just increases the nanite damage, and basically enemies that are killed with the nanites create more nanites, which will kill other targets as well. So yes, overall, I really suggest this weapon, probably one of my personal favorites as well, just because, you know, the lore tied to it, as well as the nostalgia of Destiny 1. And you're probably going to be using this weapon mostly for miners. Pause. Moving on to the number 7 spot, we have the Callus MiniTool Legendary Submachine Gun. Now, I'm not going to lie, this is one of my favorite legendary weapons in the game. That's because it's insane. This weapon was easier to obtain in Season of the Haunted because you could get guaranteed red borders through the weekly reset, and you could get it through the Derelict Leviathan doing various activities. And of course, this weapon is craftable, but it does require 5 red borders, and I know it's a lot, and it's going to be pretty hard to get, but either way, it's a good weapon with or without the God Roll. Now, my preferred God Roll is going to be Arrowhead Break, Flared Magwell, Threat Detector, and Incandescent. Now, this weapon can be equipped with the Mida Multi-Tool Exotic Scout Rifle for various speed benefits. However, I do not think that the Mida Multi-Tool is worth the exotic slots when there are better things to use. Moving on to the number 8 spot, we have the Galahorn Exotic Rocket Launcher. Now, my fellow D1 vets know that this is a classic, of course. Now, the reason that this weapon is great is because of 2 things, actually. Number 1, the Wolfpack Rounds exotic trait, which does the following. Rounds fired split into tracking cluster missiles upon detonation, as well as the weapon perk Pack Hunter, which basically allows allies that are nearby using a normal rocket launcher that is not exotic to gain Wolfpack rounds. Now, with the catalyst of this weapon, you can hold 2 rockets in your magazine, and final blows with Wolfpack rounds spawn a faster, more powerful missile at the target's location. Now, to obtain this weapon, you have to have the 30th anniversary pack bundle, and unfortunately, to get the catalyst, you have to do a couple different things, but most importantly, you have to do the Grasp of Avarice dungeon. And I know that is kind of disappointing to solo players, but if you are willing to join up in LFG to get this exotic catalyst, it is definitely worth your time. Now, obviously, this weapon is going to be mostly used for bosses, but it can also be used for majors. However, it is kind of designed for bosses, so I would suggest using it for that. Now, moving on to the number 9 spot, we have the Other Half Legendary Sword. However, this weapon is exactly the same, and I'm pretty sure I can get the same exact thing as its twin, the Half Truth's Legendary Sword. But for now, I'm going to just cover the Other Half Legendary Sword. Now, the Other Half Sword has a lower chance of dropping than its twin, but you only need 1 red border to craft it, so I got it crafted first. And the reason these swords are so good is because the Eager Edge trait. And basically what this does is as soon as you pull out your sword and you swing, it makes you swing really far. And usually this weapon is not used for attacking enemies. However, of course you can use it for that. It's a f***ing sword. But it's really good for getting around places and just having fun in general. So, but I would recommend using it if you're trying to go fast or speed run, or if you're trying to get a good time on something. It's definitely really good for that. Now, unfortunately, these swords only drop from the Dares of Eternity offensive playlist, which I'm pretty sure you need to have the 30th anniversary bundle to play it, but I'm not 100% sure. Now, moving on to the number 10 spot, we have the Arbalist Exotic Linear Fusion Rifle. Now, there are so many reasons that this weapon is good, but we're going to start off with its exotic trait, which is called Compounding Force, which does the following. fire slugs that cause massive damage to combatant shields, strong against barrier champions. So how barrier champions work is after a certain amount of damage, they will do an invincible shield, and you have to have a barrier mod to take it down, or you can use the Arbalist. Now, another reason that this weapon is good is because it is in the kinetic slot, and it is the only linear fusion rifle in the kinetic slot. And the reason that this is good is because it doesn't take heavy ammo, it takes energy ammo. And on top of that, you can use this with any heavy weapon you want. I mean, hell, you can do double linear fusions if you wanted. And the only way to get this weapon is, of course, through RNG, so you do have to, again, rely on exotic drop chances. Now, if you like this weapon, I do recommend investing in the electromagnetic execution weapon ornament because it gives it a really good optic. And I know that's kind of pay to win, but we're playing Destiny 2, so get over it. Anyway, Guardians, that's gonna conclude my video for the top 10 weapons that every solo player needs for PvE. Thank you all so much for watching this video. If you did enjoy it, leave a like. If you didn't, leave a dislike and leave a comment on what I could work on. If you made it this far, leave a comment on what your favorite weapon is from this list or what your favorite weapon is in general. If you are new to my channel and you do think that you will like this style of content, please hit that subscribe button. You can unsubscribe at any time and it's completely free. Before we end this video, I do want to thank Awaken and Redrix for the donations. It really means a lot for your kind words as well as the money. I mean, holy shit, dude. I never thought I'd be making money from this channel or YouTube in general, so to see that this is finally working out, it's really, really nice. So thank you again. Anyway, it's 9:23 in the morning and I have not slept, so I'm gonna get my ass in bed. I will see you all on the next video. Peace. It has been exactly 12 hours because I said that when I was done editing, it was 9:30 something in the morning. Well, it's now 9:36 at night. So yeah, it's been 12 hours and I just realized that I did 11 weapons instead of 10. So I guess I just included an extra one, but yeah, enjoy. I'm still gonna say 10 in the title, so yeah, get clickbaited, bitch.